Welcome to Beyond 66, the show. An extension of the Joe Barr Route 66 film project, Beyond 66 is a show about endurance, life after the finish line, setting your own limits as you age, and the making of a film about one extraordinary adventure. On June 2nd, 2026, Joe Barr, a 66-year-old Irish ultra endurance athlete, set out to do something no one had ever done before: set a Guinness World Record cycling Route 66 nonstop from Santa Monica, California to Chicago, Illinois. 10 days and 6+ hours later, he arrived at Navy Pier just one day before his 67th birthday. The film is coming, and while we bring it to life, we want to take you behind the scenes into the making of the film, the story of what it took for Joe Barr and the Barr Ultra team to pull this off, and what life looks like beyond the finish line. I'm one of your hosts, Leslie, producer of the Joe Barr Route 66 film project, and otherwise an entrepreneur, endurance athlete, and a self-proclaimed nomadic homebody. I'm joined today by our executive producer and director, Patrick O'Connor, an award-winning writer and director and cyclist, and Matt Wagner, director and brand strategist for the Joe Barr Route 66 film project, creative director, and award-winning designer and endurance athlete. This show was pre-recorded, but we are thrilled to announce that we'll have monthly-ish live conversations with Joe Barr, members of the Route 66 Barr Ultra team, and other special guests. Stay tuned on schedule updates by following us on Instagram or subscribing to emails through our website, joebarroute66filmproject.com. What you can expect from this show today is a conversation about what it was like being on Route 66. Enjoy. Everyone. We're so glad to be here again. And we're going to get right to it today. So I know in our last episode with the filmmakers, we talked about what it was like capturing the race in real time with Joe. But I wanted to talk about what were some of our most memorable moments as filmmakers. So we also asked Joe this question in the episode that we recorded with him. If you haven't seen that yet, you can go to our YouTube channel and find that and listen to its episode 2. But Pat and Matt, what were some of your most memorable moments out on the race?
Matt, you want to go?
I can go. I would need everything was just so memorable out on the road that it's even hard to narrow it down because like it kind of like flooded with all of these like amazing memories. But the funny, like the funny thing that really that really like always just comes to the top of my mind when I think about the two or about the most memorable moments are like moments with nature, like animals. You know what I mean? Like that like I remember for whatever reason that this night in Texas, the overnight through Texas, there were just like rattlesnakes like everywhere, like on the road, and like I did not anticipate that we were going to have a night where there's just like I guess the road warms up, and then at night it gets cold, and then I like all these rattlesnakes just come out of off the side of the road and just kind of like are out on the road, and we had to like started like scouting for rattlesnakes, and I think about and I didn't experience this directly. And Pat, this might be one that's high on your list, but if it is, you could tell the story about it. But the horses, the wild horses
Mm-hmm.
moment was just like that was a memorable moment, and I didn't even experience it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but what I when I think about like the moments that maybe kind of like sit with me less like kind of like visuals, but more sit with me in my heart. Like whenever I think about it, it's just all of these moments of like people like caring for each other, like watching like the crew, like the guys from the crew, like in their individual ways, like taking care of Joe or taking care of Jill or taking care of each other or like lightening a moment or making something happen, these moments of kind of like people taking care of each other. I know that's not specific because there's like 1,000 specific kind of things, but that one that's really one of those general kind of things that really sticks with me are those things.
Yeah. I was thinking about animals. And my first thought was I didn't have the animal experience that you guys did because you had the nocturnal animals. I don't know what it was in addition to the snakes, but you guys were like the animal people. But we did have experience with the wild horses, which we can talk about, and then the burros or the donkeys in Oatman. So there were
Mm.
those were that was another animal experience. Um, but for me, I think I have very clear memories of all of it. And part of that is because my memories are being reinforced by watching the footage as we're working on the edits. Like it's all still like right in my forebrain. I
Mhm.
think one of the most impactful moments was on the first day when Joe started experiencing symptoms of heat stroke.
Mhm.
So the setup here is, I met with Joe at 3 o'clock in the morning in San Bernardino to see him get ready. And then we all met in Santa Monica for the 5 a.m. launch. And he left Santa Monica in the dark and was pedaling west all day. And he hit the desert, I want to say, around 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So he'd been on his bike for 12 hours, had been up for probably close to 20. I'm not sure how much he slept the night before. And I was shooting out the window of our vehicle on the highway along Joe on Route 66. And he was just pedaling along, looking really good. And then just sort of out of nowhere, he just pulled over to to stop. And he got in the van and we pulled over to see what was going on. And he was just experiencing really bad fatigue and he was overheating. And it turned into this what initially looked like it was going to be like a little 10-minute cool down. Jill and I think Mickey was there and Jamie and maybe Aiden were the crew there at that time. They just sort of observed that he was really kind of getting into some trouble. His
Mhm.
blood ox was falling, his core temperature was super high, his heart rate was high, and over the course of like 15, 20 minutes, he went from like sitting in the van to laying down in the van, then from laying down in the van to being transferred walking into another, the other follow the aux car with the AC on. He starts cramping, and I'm there shooting this, thinking we might be done. I mean, I've had bad cramps on a bike, and I've never bounced back from them, you know. And so I was shooting the whole time. We were there for maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and I think we might be done here, you
Yeah.
know, on the first day. And then, Jill, who has been through this many, many times, and the crew have been through it many, many times, they did all the things that needed to be done, ice towels, air conditioning. Alex was there because he started cramping and he worked on his legs. And within maybe 40 minutes, they open the car up. He climbs out, cleans himself up a little bit, and gets back on the bike and starts riding again. And I was stunned. I
Yeah.
was really stunned. I think I saw you guys shortly after that because I think he rode another 20 or so miles to get to maybe Ludlow, where we were going to maybe hand off
Mhm.
trade our shifts. And I remember very clearly kind of breaking up, thinking, I just don't understand what I just witnessed here.
Mhm.
Not a moment's panic. And he looked like he could have just stopped right there on the
Mhm.
first. And for
Mhm.
me, that sort of set a sort of a tone for me. It's like we are just going to, every moment that we encounter, we're going to encounter it in that moment, do what needs to be done, let time do what it's going to do, and then we move forward again. And I was just stunned. I think about that all the time. I think about all the time. I'm really looking forward to what that scene looks like in the edit. Um,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of really interesting footage there, and the concern and the patience. But on Jill's face, you can tell. I mean, she's worried because that's her husband. It's not
Mhm.
just a guy that she's trying to get through on this bike
Mhm.
ride. It's a man that she loves dearly, and watching that was really kind of an amazing thing. So that for me, that was like one of the first and most memorable times on the whole ride where something kind of occurred to me that I hadn't
Mhm.
thought of before.
Mhm.
Uh, so that
Mhm.
that one, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that thing work, how that you know hour and 20-minute thing turns into like a 4-minute scene
Hmm.
in the film. But yes, let's see, what's your most memorable?
Yeah,
Or do you have one?
I'm similar to how Matt said it. Like there's so many. But I think Pat, while you were describing that that scene that happened on day one when Joe had, in the heat of the desert, we were at a Dairy Queen in Ludlow, and
Oh, good
we
for you guys.
I know. We got there, and that was the next place we'd planned to, see y'all go by. And, the reason I bring that part up and why it was so memorable, and this happened so many different times throughout, is the what I remember the most about just our perspective is all the people that we met.
Mm.
And I mean, of course, the crew and like Bar Ultra team, just being there with them. And Matt, you talked about the way everybody cared for one another. I think it was so special for me that even Joe, like Joe himself, was trying to take care of us all while he's out there doing this thing. And that was really memorable, really special. And it happened every day. There were just people taking care of one another, strangers, people who didn't speak the same language as one another, just out there doing something to help somebody. And that was really, really powerful. And I, I also, Pat, as you were describing that scene, loved, I love how this entire film, this entire story is something that we all have to process so many times, because even the effort that he had put in up until that point where he took a break to manage the heat is more than most endurance athletes will do in a single day.
I think at that point
And
I think he'd already pedaled maybe 180 miles,
yeah,
maybe even
and
more
like
than that.
yeah, and like that's such an extreme, and I think Mark talked about that earlier that day too.
Yeah.
Like what Joe has already done is most people's like big effort that they train for like an entire year.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really memorable too, is constantly witnessing somebody do something that is really unthinkable because we don't have a standard for what that looks like.
Yeah.
And I think too, I know this show even is about, defining our own limits as we age. And I think that that's something that he just demonstrated consistently.
Yeah.
And that to me is very memorable, just even being witness to that.
And that reminds me, like I hadn't really been thinking in terms of Joe, thinking that he is always sort of pushing limits.
Mm.
Like for some reason, I always kind of thought like Joe knows his limit because he's done it for so long and he gets up to it and it's at an incredibly high level, but he's aware of what the limit is. But reviewing footage during this process of the edit, I'm finding moments where he's actually talking about it. For him, it's about exploring what that limit is and getting past what he thinks it is. And I'd kind of forgotten that he has an idea of what he can do because he's done it, but he's always thinking, what's beyond that?
Hmm.
Like I want to live in that space beyond what we all think is possible. And I
Hmm.
think as a now 67-year-old man, he's already in that territory
Hmm.
of pushing beyond what anybody thought was possible. Um, and that's the edit process for me is always gives you brand new insight into what you just watched because you're making connections between all these disparate moments and you start to see the themes developed. And he talks later in the film a lot about inspiring other people just to be a little bit better at some part of your life every day.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what he's doing. But he's doing it at such a level where you think, is there really much more to go up there? And it's like
Yeah.
he's gonna find out.
Yeah.
I think it's just amazing. Just
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And yeah, I'm excited for people to listen to this conversation too. We'd love to hear if you're listening to this in the comments. Let us know what kind of limits you're defying, what kind of limits that you're setting in your own way. Because like you said, Pat, that is something that, that's one of Joe's whys is for being out there is inspiring other people to do their own thing in their own way and get better at it every day, like you said.
Yeah.
So the next question, and I think my answer for the first one kind of ties into this too, but I wanted to hear from both of you, and I'll share a little bit more too, just specifically about what your experience was with Route 66. Being on it, the people that you met, and even how it related to the film and how we were on Route 66 there with the race. And then we can talk a little bit about what it looked like and as far as scouting and prep work on Route 66. But first, I know Matt, you answered the last one. So what was your experience with Route 66? This time?
This time, yeah. The word that comes to my mind that had just repeatedly came to my mind with Route 66 was generosity.
Mm-hmm.
That I was just met nothing on Route 66 because when I'm speaking of Route 66, I'm speaking of the route and the people, the people and the businesses, the people that live and work, along there that sort of like are the stewards of this and the ones that sort of like keep it going and it's just like the I was just overwhelmed with the generosity of people, whether it's the generosity of time, where people would drop what they were doing and come out and offer to help with something, or just be there to sort of cheer, or excitement, the generosity of their energy to bring out, to just like come out and just be there and be positive. And when Joe couldn't, we never knew exactly when Joe was coming through, because you just never know. It's just so unpredictable that people would come and have to wait for a long period of time, or maybe they would miss him or something and then go on to the next one. But just people that were just so generous with their time, and then even like people that were generous with um Super Tam, when we were at Super Tam, and the owners of Super Tam, they like literally
This ice cream shop, right?
Yeah, Super Tam ice cream shop in I'm blanking on the name of the town.
Carterville,
Carterville,
Missouri.
yeah, Carterville, Missouri. And they're just incredible people there. And anybody who's listening to this that goes out to Route 66, you got to stop there and just meet them and spend time there. They're just wonderful people. But like watching, like they cooked like a home cooked meal, like pork loin and sweet potatoes and broccoli and a fresh made loaf of bread and butter, and brought all this stuff out to the that hotel where the crew was at, and just like fed us, and he I think he goes, yeah, I asked it, is any of this for us? And she's like, nope, it's for them. And he was like, oh, and he like took them, like they literally didn't even make dinner for themselves that night. They brought like all the food out to us. And that was just like super amazing. And then I just think about like even shop owners that when we were out, like I remember going to the stepping in so often during that we would step into a shop to get a drink or whatever, and I was at this really busy shop in Jackrabbit, and it's this tiny little shop, and it was just overrun with a bunch of like people on this motorcycle tour. And it was really exciting because like a lot of people came through there, and we have footage of them cheering Joe as he went by. But they were all in the store, and it was really busy. And all these people are in the store, and they'll probably just be in the store this one time, and maybe never come back. So it'd be really easy for a store owner to just be like checking everybody out and getting the heck out. And I was in line, and I got in line, and he goes, hey, are you with the bikers? The guy that owned the place. And I said, I thought he thought I was with the motorcycle people. And I said, oh, no, I'm not. I'm not with them. He goes, no, are you with that guy on the bike? And I go, oh, yeah, we're filming it. He goes, here. And he just pushed everything across the table and just gave me everything I was going to buy. He just gave it to me. I'm like it's just like, these people's livelihood is based on those sales, and they go through dry periods where no one's coming through, and this is all like a labor of love and passion for them. And it seems like, whatever the $15 worth of stuff that I was going to get, it doesn't seem like a lot, but like it's a really generous gesture for someone. They probably see that we're coming through and we're promoting Route 66, and they really kind of got that. It was just, yeah, I don't know, it was just a cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the generosity was pretty amazing. And I think what occurred to me in the first my first experience of like an iconic Route 66 moment was at the Baghdad Cafe,
Mm-hmm.
which is still in California.
Mm-hmm.
And I had vague memories of what that was from the film from the 80s or whenever that thing came out. But it's owned by these really cool, hip young folk. And the dude was playing a guitar the whole time. And they were happy to sit and talk to us. And it sort of occurred to me that Route 66 is going to attract people. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they're there because they want to be sort of like, as word you use was steward of that Route 66 vibe. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that was the experience the whole way along the route, like you said. So those folks were really nice. They're happy to talk to us. And then the other sort of big moment for Route 66 moment that I had no idea was going to happen was at the midpoint. So on Route 66, there is an actual midpoint spot. It's a stripe in the road. It's like you are halfway, to whatever way you're going. And there's a cafe there called, I think, the Midpoint Diner or the Midpoint Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe rolls up to that spot, and the owner comes running out and hugs him. And she's so happy to see him. And then Joe reminds her that he had stopped at the Midpoint Cafe when they were heading the other direction in the van. And she's like, "Oh, I remember meeting you." And they had this beautiful moment, hugs, and she says she's so proud of him. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she's so proud of Joe." And then everybody on the crew got free pie,
Yeah.
including myself. And mine was the apple hatch pepper
Yeah.
apple pie,
Mm.
insanely good.
Yeah.
But this woman, she just came out and it was just like it's just all about love. They
Mm-hmm.
just love people, and the people who
Mm-hmm.
go on that route are seeking those moments out. So I am completely, like I said I've said to you guys before, and on the last show we did that I've never been like a big Route 66 person. I was always vaguely aware of it. But there's really something special about that. And I think it's almost entirely because of the people who are drawn to it.
Mm-hmm.
Either the people who want to see it and experience it, and then the people who are stewards of these iconic spots along the way. It's just when those two things come together, and I think Joe recognized that. That's part of the reason he picked this route as a
Mm-hmm.
route to do, is he was aware of just the nature of Route 66. He knew that that's what was going to be there. I think he did intuitively. I think he was
Mm-hmm.
also surprised, like you said, that the generosity of people's spirits all along the way was just remarkable. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he every time he stopped, he felt love from someone.
Yeah.
Uh, Made my heart feel good because
Mm-hmm.
he deserved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty. It was pretty amazing. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
yeah.
Pat, well, I was gonna say, Pat, I think I have an idea based on what you said, like what word you'd use to describe Route 66, but if you could describe it in one word, what would it be?
Magic.
Magic.
It's a good one. It's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
yeah, there's something magical about the whole sort of intertwining of the nostalgia, and it's not even nostalgia for some. I don't. That's not the right word for me. It's the people who are there are there for a reason, and when they all get together, something kind of magic happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just the buildings or the place. It's the people who
Hmm.
Yeah.
inhabit who have chosen to inhabit them, and the people who have chosen to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we asked people along the way a couple questions. We'd ask them about what people thought about
Yeah.
what the race that Joe was doing. And we'd also ask people what Route 66 means to them. And a lot of people, they said nostalgia, but they
Mhm.
described it in a way that was, I think, I think a lot of people use the term like simpler times. Like it
Mhm.
reminded them of going on family vacations.
Yeah.
It reminded them of times in their life when things were, to me, like the way I hear people describe it as like when they were more present. I think that's what Route 66 does, is it kind of demands your presence.
Hmm.
And I think magic is a perfect word to describe Route 66,
Hmm.
because it really is. And it's like something I experienced on Route 66 is so cliche, but it's like that it's about the journey, not the destination.
Hmm.
And I like to think of myself as a fairly present, mindful person. But our first few days out there when we were scouting, I mean, I thought I was going to lose my mind because I was so fixated on the end of the day that everything we had planned felt like I never had enough time. And I finally let it affect me and let it kind of take over like, okay, the end of the day is not the point. Right now is the point. And if you don't do everything on the list, that's also the point because we don't have to do everything on the list, you know?
Hmm.
And for anyone planning a Route 66 trip, that would be a great piece of advice too. Make your plan, but be ready to throw it out the window. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that it is. It's a it's a magic route. It's a magic time.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the next question I had here was about actually like scouting, what that process looked like. I know
Mhm.
Matt and I, we and Pat, you did some scouting. You did the scouting basically at the start and the end point because you were in
Yes.
Chicago and then in Santa
Yeah. Santa
Monica,
Monica. Yeah.
and yeah, and then Matt and I started in Granite City, Illinois, and then head out west. And we made it through I think Kingman, Arizona. No. Oatman. Oatman, Arizona was the last place. I'm actually the shirt I keep wearing on these calls. I don't even realize I'm not doing it on purpose, but I think I've worn the same outfit for every episode. But I got this shirt at in Oatman, Arizona at
Stay
a store
rowdy.
called Pinnacles. Yeah, stay rowdy. And there's like a skull on the back. I love it. Um, but yeah, that was what we did on the way out. So, which was, I mean, I think it was invaluable to have gone out and scouted and gotten familiar. And I mean, we were able to meet people
Yeah.
along the
Yeah.
way
You
too.
guys set up relationships on the way out there that were valuable on the way back, the other on the actual ride itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Pat, what was your experience scouting the start and the finish?
I was in Chicago, or Margaret and I were in Chicago for my niece's wedding. So we were there like for like 3 days, a couple of weeks before the ride started. And part of what I was doing was a little recon work on the route for both our purposes, so that I had a sense of where in Chicago Joe would be riding, but also to kind of report back to Mark and Joe what they might expect, depending on what time of day they came into Chicago, what the traffic would be like. And I had not been out to Navy Pier probably in 20 something years. So I didn't really even have any idea what the arrival of Navy Pier would look like. So that was useful so that we sort of knew what to expect when we got there. And then I was in Santa Monica, I think a few days before the ride started, and on two consecutive mornings went out there at about 4 o'clock in the morning just to see what's going on at Santa Monica Pier at 4 o'clock in the morning. Um, and the first time it was actually a little scary because there was still an element of, maybe some folks who had not yet gone home from the night before wandering around, and maybe a few unhoused people who looked like they weren't necessarily happy to see me out there with a camera. But
Mhm.
the second day I was a little more comfortable, the second morning, and went out there and sort of got a sense of what we could shoot in terms of what kind of light would be available, all lit by street lights and that kind of stuff. Um, but to me, that's always really helpful, so you don't walk into a situation like that completely unaware of what conditions you're going to be shooting in. And Santa Monica, that Ocean Avenue in Santa Monica at 4 o'clock in the morning is just a beautiful, serene
Mhm.
place. It's completely quiet. It was actually kind of an interesting place to start the race, I thought. But I also did a little recon. I rode the first probably 5 or 6 miles on a rented bicycle, so I could kind of report back to Joe and Mark what that ride would look like heading out at that time of the morning. So yeah, it's a valuable thing to do. So what you guys did was, was also critically important to understanding. I mean, that's basically one of the ways you were able to put together such a good schedule. You kind of knew what was along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt, what was your experience with the scouting trip?
I think of it almost like a tempering process in a sense, like Route 66 and the breadth of that part of the United States is like it's not to be taken lightly. And I'd like to say that like that was completely like I knew that and that's why we did it that way. But like we're fortunate to have a van that we live and operate out of through different parts of the year, and so it was feasible for us to go out and do that and literally like drive as much of the route as we could get. And I feel like I feel like what we were doing at that point is like tempering ourselves, like to the experience and grounding kind of like our nervous systems in that way of being, that sort of nomadic movement, that daily movement, and getting a sense for what it was going to be like to kind of live like that, on the road for these like 10 days, or at the time we weren't sure exactly how many days it was going to end up being. Um, and I think that and not like I like to think about these things in a little bit more of a metaphysical way too. I think like Joe talks about this in the film, is that Joe talks about the race being an entity, like that the race, this journey or whatever it is almost like personified. It's an energetic entity that's asking you to get to know it and to engage with it.
And they use the term she. It's the mother
She,
road.
yeah, the mother road, yeah,
And
and yeah, I'm totally down with that.
yeah,
Like we needed to get to know her and let her know us, I think, and answer some of those questions to begin that conversation of like how this is going to go and where we're going to fit and in it. And I think so and also just to get oriented, just to like know, because to have thought that we could just sort of like fly out to California and just hit the road and just do this,
yeah,
I would have like I think it would be easy for a person to think that you could do it that way, and you could, but
yeah,
I can't imagine what it would have been like without having that week or so of just being out there. Yes, we could plan shots, but a lot of that changed. Yes,
yeah,
we could know where roads turned and all that kind of stuff, but a lot of that also, there were reroutes and there were all kinds of things that happened due to, different situations. So, um, it was, I think what it ultimately ended up being was about a temperament and a connection and a starting to get, like have a conversation with this road and this culture and the landscape that we were going to be traversing. So it was invaluable in sort of a lot of ways. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Leslie, what was your experience like out there?
Okay, I'm gonna answer that, but then I've got a question for both of you, and it's a hard question, okay?
Oh, okay.
But it'll be fun. It'll be fun for
Yeah,
our listeners
yeah.
and for us probably. But okay, so for me, scouting, I shared earlier that like the first few days were they taught me a lot, but I think by day three, the magic had found me. Um, just the magic of the road, the magic of the experience. And while we were out there scouting, we were also caravanning with some family and friends. So we were scouting and working, and they would all kind of do their own thing, and then we would meet up in the evenings. One thing that we weren't able to prepare for were the all-nighters. We could have, but we chose not to, which I think was a pro move to get as many good night's sleep as we could before the adventure officially began. But yeah, the scouting, it was, I think, really invaluable to be able to go out there, and especially for a team of three, to be able to have seen as many parts of Route 66 as we did beforehand, and doing so in different during different times, I think was also really beneficial. We were able to work together to kind of share what we'd experienced, what we saw, what we expected, and that was that was really great. Um, and yeah, I think similar to the advice that I shared for anyone doing Route 66, I think we kind of did the same thing. We made a plan, and a lot of it we had to throw out the window, but having the plan to start with allowed us to be able to know how to stand on our feet when things got into unknown territory. I mean,
Mhm.
and a lot of that happens when you're just traveling and, just things changing and not knowing what to expect, but especially with the film.
Mhm.
Um, so okay, I'm gonna ask you guys a question and then I'll answer it too. What is your favorite town on Route 66? And you have to pick one. And if you can't decide, maybe the first one that comes to your mind.
I mean, I know for me, the most memorable one for me was this is the Oatman. The sort of like Oatman, is it my favorite, like where I'd want to like live there or something? I don't think anybody actually lives there. But it's the one that like stands out in my mind where I was just like instantly whenever I think about it, when if I'm like the place that like just was like iconic, of like is it Oatman. Uh Oatman was just remarkable to me. It just was mind blowing and weird and odd and just a little uncomfortable and like bizarre and like it's just the whole thing and just where it's positioned,
Yeah.
like in that on that mountain is just so bizarre and yeah, it's yeah, Oatman's the first one that comes to my mind.
My memory of Oatman is I never got out of the car in Oatman. We
Yeah.
just we were following Joe through this sort of windy little, looked like an old Western trading town with the donkeys all over the place, and we were through it in 4 minutes, and then we're climbing up for the climb. So Oatman as a town didn't really register with me. It's just like a movie set we drove through, and we just kept
Yeah.
going to find Joe and shoot more footage. For me, the town that I think I had that was the most fun was Winslow, Arizona,
Yeah.
because I had
Mm.
forgotten that it was on Route 66, and my connotation is the Jackson Brown Eagle song, "Take It
Mhm.
Easy," standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona. And that town completely, at least in that little section where we are, where the big Route 66 is painted on the crossroads there,
Yeah.
the whole town is about that song. There's a bronze statue of Jackson Brown, and I think there's Glenn Fry, and the
Uh-huh.
lyrics are like written on the side of the building, and they're
Yeah.
piping in music. I think they've got like three Eagle songs on a loop. Probably drives the people who live there nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was just like it was a personification of that song
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and the Route 60. And when we stopped there, Joe had, we shot them coming in. They pulled over for like a half hour rest break. They ate some hamburgers or something and then continued to roll on. But we were like in Winslow for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And, and we met some people who were really curious about the race. There was a guy from New Orleans who was in this hopped up Corvette that he wanted to show us. It was another case of the people who were there were intentionally there. They
Yeah.
wanted to be in Winslow and they wanted to be standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona and get
Yeah.
their photo taken. So to me, that was the rest of them. It was kind of like Amarillo. We were there at night and then left. I mean, a lot of it was just like a place to sleep and then
Uh-huh.
you just kept moving.
Yeah.
But Winslow, we were there during the day, and I just had forgotten that that's what Winslow would be. Well, of course it would be, but I got a big kick out of that
Yeah.
because I'm a big Jackson Brown fan from that era.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I like Winslow.
Yeah, Winslow's a good one. I forgot to tell y'all this too. Last week or a couple weeks ago, I went to a theme park with a friend, and they just play all kinds of music, and that song came on, "Take It Easy," and
Yeah.
I got
Great
a little
song.
emotional because I was like, oh my God, like I've listened to the person I was with, they're like, I haven't heard this song in so long, and I was like, I've heard it a lot this year, and I was
Yeah,
like,
I
and I
was
don't know,
just
took
there.
me right back. Yeah, I was like, I was on that corner. But yeah, so okay, I'm going to answer the question too. And unfortunately, I put rules on this because I had a few come to mind. But I'm going to say the first one that came to my mind, which is Williams,
Yeah,
Arizona. So
Williams.
we all went Arizona,
Mhm.
which is interesting. But I think Williams, we spent the most time there. Matt and I did on the scouting trip on the
All
way west, and then it was just, I don't know. And we'd been there a few times before. I'm also obsessed with the Grand Canyon. So I love that it's like Williams also makes me think of the Grand Canyon. But it was, I think Williams was my first place that I really experienced Route 66, even like years ago. And so it was special going back to it this time around. And I just remember when we were there scouting, we went and like walked around, we got some photos and some B-roll, and then we went to Rod's Steakhouse.
Mhm.
We had, oh, here's something else on Route 66 if you're planning a trip. Expect to be disappointed by how you're not hungry every single time you want to be, because that's what happened to us at Rod's. We'd already eaten and we got there and we were like, shoot, we want to eat a steak dinner. But we just couldn't do it. And that happens a lot on Route 66. But
Yeah.
we went in and we had a cocktail and we were telling people about the film, and the owner of the restaurant came in and was super excited. And we ended up going through Williams in the middle of the night and weren't able to connect with any of the people on the way back through. But it was, I don't know, it just has the energy. It was a real special place. And I think too, it was this trip, the scouting, that was the last night of our scouting trip. And
Mhm.
so it was kind of the also changing energetically of the like parts of the trip and parts of the film, because we were leaving the people we had been with. We were, we had one more morning of scouting because we went through Kingman and Oatman. And then after that, it was like, okay, now we're getting ready to meet Pat out there. We're getting ready to meet the crew. And so it was just a pivotal moment, I think. So yeah, mine was Williams.
I wish we could have spent time in Shamrock. That's one I was looking forward to, but we went through,
Mm-hmm.
actually, you guys went through there at night with Joe. I was off
Mm-hmm.
probably sleeping in a hotel somewhere else at that time. That's a
Yeah.
place I'm looking forward to seeing, but it
Yeah.
just didn't work out timing wise that we were able to spend any time there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to kind of get a little bit more of the Irish experience on Route 66, which we want, to be a part of the film. That's going to be a little bit tougher given that we
Yeah.
didn't spend time in Shamrock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a cool, Matt. I think you got that shot of Joe riding by
Right.
the Conoco station.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
Eamon met us there. So that was a
Yeah.
nice treat. That was a fun part about the experience too, is, you know, us being out there filming, and then members of the bar crew coming up, and you'd never know who was coming next. And it was just fun I think that was like the only time we saw Eamon that entire day. So that was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay, so I know some of the questions we had, we've already touched on, like what surprised you most while being alongside the race with Joe. But the other question, I think, and this can be our last question for this episode, is, being out there on Route 66 with Joe, what did it feel like for each of you capturing footage while the story was unfolding right in front of you? What was it? And I know, Pat, you've made other films too. So was that experience for this different than other films that you've made? And what was that like for you, just seeing it unfold?
I think I maybe mentioned this in the last or the first episode we did here. Is it reminded me again of how much I enjoy doing it, and part of it I think has to do with this feeling like I was always struck by the fact that I was even there. That it's like it's such a privilege to be there shooting this thing. Like, for example, that story I told you about in the Mojave where Joe was starting to get symptoms for heat stroke. It's just like just to be there and witness it and to capture it with your camera. It's like how often do you get to do that? To witness that and try to make sense of it, through a lens. It's one of my favorite things to do, but I think the word I go back to again is it's a privilege. I mean, the fact that we were there doing this is a really, really unusual thing. And, we're grateful to Joe and Jill and that crew for allowing us and inviting us to be there. It was just really, it's a really special thing to do. So the experience of being there in those moments with Joe and Jill and the rest of the crew were just like I would walk away from it, like walking, like after shooting something for like half an hour or something, I'd walk back into my car and go, "Oh my God, it was fucking amazing." You know, like, I can't believe I was there to get that. You
Yeah.
know, that's kind of, yeah, that kind of feeling like you just cannot believe you're the one there doing that.
Mm, yeah. Um, Matt, what about you?
Well, there's a couple ways I could go with this, but like the main kind of thing that comes up for me was what it was like capturing the footage while the story was unfolding right in front of me was this. I mean, like, just to be real about it, like I was sort of like in a lot of ways unraveling emotionally through a lot of this. Like,
I'm
and
sorry
it,
for laughing, but
no, no,
Trying to.
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And Leslie bore the brunt of not of all of it because she was with me the whole time. But like, I really had to like face so
Got
much of my
intense.
own insecurities, about like being able to even do this and not like
Matt,
screw it
I
up.
have that. Matt, I have that too. It's not like
Yeah,
I'm in any
yeah.
situation just confidently go, "Oh, I'm so good at this." It's like there's there's that element of fear and
Yeah,
like, am I doing this right?
yeah, yeah,
There's that too, but I've been
yeah.
through it a little bit more than you have, maybe.
Yeah, on this particular thing, and so
Yeah.
like I think the weight of because I always as a creative person have the weight of wanting to do a good job. Like that's always going to be there. I'm a crafts person. I respect people who put in the time and the effort to do things the right way. And so like I want to like live up to that, like just for the project in and of itself. This was a whole nother level of pressure in some ways because Leslie used the term in the question, like it's happening right in front of you. And I know all documentary filmmaking is that way to a certain extent, but there was a certain kind of intensity to this that like this is there's so much on the line. We are documenting this like in a way like for Joe and Jill too. You know what I mean? Like we're here to capture this for the general public, for ourselves artistically, and as a record of this for Joe and Jill. And they've put so much into this, and there's so much on the line, and it's such a big deal. And you've got one shot at everything. There's no, hey Joe, can you turn around and go do that again? Or in the heat of the moment, something said, something happens, and you're either there and you get it or you don't. And
Mhm.
and no matter what, for the rest of my life and watching this film, no matter like how successful it is or how good it is, I'm always gonna have be haunted by those things that I know aren't in the film or that I didn't capture or that like but that I missed. And so I think like that that and Pat, as you were saying, and like as Leslie has pointed out so often, it's like just the sheer privilege to even be in the position to suffer like that, like to be able to even feel that kind of pressure or feel that kind of like if it wasn't that big of a deal, it wouldn't have felt like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so the weight and the enormity of in some moments feeling like it's all on you to make sure that you get this part of it because if you don't do it right, it's going to be gone. That's what it felt like to
Right.
me.
And
Yeah.
I'll tell you that notion of being haunted by stuff you missed
Hmm.
is a real thing, but it
Yeah.
fades. It
Yeah.
fades over time. Eventually, the
Yeah.
film will be the film,
Yeah.
and you will probably stop thinking about the shot you didn't get
Yeah.
or the moment that didn't work the way you wanted it to or whatever. I mean, that's going to happen. I mean, that's happening right now during the edit phase. It's like, oh, we didn't get that, or I wish we had that, or this didn't work. But
Yeah.
eventually, it's going to be film, and that's probably what's going to be in your forebrain. And over,
Yeah.
hopefully, over time, you'll stop beating yourself up over the shot you didn't get.
Yeah, yeah, and it's been helpful to go through the process. But like Leslie, I remember telling Leslie, like, and I'll pass it to you here, like with this. But it was just like I told her at certain moments where like I would come back to the van like kind of dejected because I had planned this whole thing and then I like messed something up or the technology didn't work right or the camera malfunctioned or I missed the timing or something, I wasn't in focus or whatever it was. And I would just come back dejected. And after like maybe six of those in a row, and I would just be in the van and I'm like, I just feel like the universe is grinding me into dust. And like, I'm, there's a lesson I need to learn here. and it's going to reveal itself over time, but right now I don't know what it is, you know? And it's like that,
Yeah.
that's kind of like, that's what
I think
Leslie had to like deal with
I
for a
think the
while there.
lesson would be the sun's going to come up tomorrow, and you get
Yeah.
another shot at it.
Yeah, right. Right.
He's going to come flying by again in about an hour.
Exactly. He's
I mean,
Joe's always going to be coming.
yeah, didn't you feel like towards day 10 you kind of had a little better sense of what you were doing? I know I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, as time went on, I had a little bit better sense of it, but I was always reluctant to like
Yeah.
kind of let that creep into where, oh, I'm getting this, and then it's like boom, you know. But no, it was mostly, yeah, it was mostly it got better as time went on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so any other filmmakers listening to this, share in the comments your words of affirmation for Matt. We'd love to hear how
Get
you deal with
better.
this because, yeah.
We could start a
uh,
support group.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I think for me, watching it unfold, there's something, and I don't know if I was conscious of this in the moment or if it's something in hindsight, but watching it unfold, the things that were sometimes not great for Joe's race were really great for the film. Like, the storm in Illinois. Like the
Mhm.
plan was for him to go a certain distance that day, so that way on the final day he had a shorter ride. Well, we ran into some severe weather, and that plan quickly changed. And so on one hand, it's like, oh shoot, like what Joe wanted to do is not going to be able to happen, and he's going to have a longer ride tomorrow. That's going to be a little more stressful for him, and the timing might not be what we wanted. But then on the other hand, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. Like
Hmm.
this, like the just even like the photos and seeing, I know because I was driving, Matt was like filming out the window and just seeing the way that the sky was changing and like what it looked like to watch Joe roll towards these storm clouds was just really epic. And so it was, and I think things like that happen throughout too. Like every time, there was a heat management break, it's like, okay, well, and like that needed to happen. And Joe was maybe suffering, but every time Joe was suffering, it's also like, this makes for really good, relatable film for, because especially for people who are into endurance sport and people who are cyclists and they know that feeling. Maybe
Yeah.
we all don't know the
Yeah.
exact feeling of
Yeah.
day 7, 250, 300 miles a day, but yeah. So it was kind of for me, like watching it happen in real time and experiencing that kind of duality of what the race was for Joe versus what would be good for the story and the
Mm.
film.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You want everything to go perfectly, but it can be more interesting when it doesn't.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But with something this big, there's naturally so much that doesn't go perfectly.
Yeah.
So it all just worked out. Matt, what
Yeah.
were you
Yeah.
going to say?
I was just like the race unfolding. Like I was just thinking the way that you use that word, I was thinking about like how, and I've described this a couple of times, but like this was so big. You know what I mean? Like it was such a big thing. And when somebody like Joe and Jill and the crew, the genesis of this idea, when it goes from that idea of this sort of like manifesting this thing, you know, like Joe gets this idea, he's on this one track mind to do this, and he builds up all that like time and effort, and then takes this thing on. It's like just we were all, I think, like kind of in this like high vibrational state, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? And it was just like when Joe was doing this, it's almost like it creates this like vacuum in this flow, and things just happen. There's these synchronicities that happen when you're out there, that like the energy comes to meet you, you know, like for lack of a better word. And it was just like that experience of the unfolding of the race, and sort of getting kind of almost sucked into this vortex. And I think like when we were talking about the animals and other people just get kind of like sucked into it, and it becomes this almost like kind of like it feels a bit like a runaway train, you know, that and you're just like in the wake of it, you know, and you're just kind of like riding it, you know, like it was just something to behold, you know, like, and to just like witness, as Pat said, you know, earlier, and just kind of like be in awe of,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
while you're also like trying to just do the dirty work of like capturing it and tell a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like two parts of your brain are working. One is just like intensely focused on the technical elements of it. Like, am I capturing it? Can I, will
Uh-huh.
it work here? Is it in focus?
Yeah.
Air to light? And then the other part of you is like, holy shit, I can't believe what I can't believe what I'm seeing here.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Well, y'all, this has been another great conversation.
So much
Thank
fun.
you. Yeah, thank you to all of our listeners. We can't wait to have a film to show you. And in the meantime,
We're
you can
working. We're
find,
working on it.
yeah, we're working. And you can find updates on our Instagram, the Joe Barr Route 66 Film Project. We'll have more episodes of Beyond 66 on YouTube. Our next episode, so we're pre-recording this on August 10th. 2026. Our next episode is going to be live and it's going to be with Joe Barr again. And we're going to be talking all things support. And especially if you're an endurance athlete, I think this will be one you don't want to miss to be there live with Joe. And we'll have time at the end to ask him questions. So we hope to see you there. The registration will be on the link in our bio on our website, joebarroute66filmproject.com. And we will see you next time.
See you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.